Welcome, John and Antoinette, to a fantastic talk about your results and your wins and everything you've been able to do in Certified Manifestation Coach. And you just activated your 14th client last night, a pay in full. How are you guys feeling?
Feeling great. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for bringing us on. We really appreciate that. It's an honor.
Yeah, of course. So you both are just an amazing, vibrant couple that are going out there and leading the industry right now with your personal development, leadership, and coaching skills, which has been amazing. So, well, tell me, let's start with the big win. Tell me more about the 14th client. How did it happen? Where were you at when you're trying to get clients now, and how did this person show up for you?
Absolutely. You can go ahead and tell them.
So we held another launch to promote the manifestation.
It was our second launch. Yep.
Accelerator. Yeah. And we, had many people on there, but we had a lot of people that weren't able to make it to the live call. And through a Facebook group that we have where there's a lot of people are a part of, a lady reached out for the recording, and she watched the recording and got back to us right away, set up an appointment to get on a call with us, get her questions answered, and just have a conversation. And through that, she was just ready to go. She was excited about what she heard. People love the accountability and the fact that they have a community and a group of people where they can be a part of to learn and grow.
And one of the things that we like to promote here is that, which you actually had a hand in helping us get this idea going. The Facebook, which we've got a couple of Facebook groups, but the one that we use to kind of promote our business is through a Facebook group called Next Level Results with John and Antoinette Ramsey. So that's where we put a lot of our content, and it's worked very well. And we appreciate the inputs that you gave us in the beginning for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and I'm going to switch over to gallery view so we can see. So when you are in that Facebook group and you're activating, having people, sometimes I'm sure they're not reaching out to you right away, but this person did. So I'm sure they saw you a few times and you put out a lot of lives, put out a lot of value. So what are your thoughts on what are you doing right now for your Facebook group to build that, to have people see you as a certified manifestation coach? I mean, what are those things you're doing, lives or value posts? I mean, what's the strategy?
Yeah, great questions. We initially did a lot of lives. We're going to be doing more now, but we've been just adding content in regards to concepts and principles that deal with manifestation, because a lot of people are uncertain of what manifestation is all about. And so we're trying to give clarity to that. We're trying to give where people realize that it's a real deal. It's not magic. It is real. So that's what we've been doing with posts. We've been doing with
increasing mindset.
And the mindset. Yeah.
Asking questions, getting people to think and think about, and you really get an idea and a feel for where people are at, especially when you ask the questions. If it's kind of an easy or fun question, you get a lot of response. When it's one that's a little bit tougher, you don't get so much of a response, but that's okay. You just never know where somebody's at. And,
right.
And even if they maybe don't respond and answer on a post, they're thinking about it. And it's something that's maybe going through their mind. And that's the whole thing, that we really want people to just begin to think in their life, not just go through the motions, but begin to really start to think about what you're doing in your life. Think about what you're thinking about. Think about, where your life is at and where you want to go, and know that you can create the life that you want, not just exist going through the motions day to day.
Yeah, and that was when we originally got started with this. We had already had some experience with Proctor Gallagher, so it was more of taking this as no pun intended, to the next level. And then when we realized what the Manifestation Accelerator program does, it was a no-brainer for us. I mean, and so because that's a passion of ours, we just love sharing it with people.
Yeah, amazingly said. And that's like your light workers of the world. That's what we do here. That's what you guys do. And anybody listening in that feels that calling to want to coach people and serve people. It's the calling of bringing more light and divinity to this world and helping people wake up to what's the real power and potential within them, which is quite amazing. So let's talk about your story a little bit, because it's fascinating. It's amazing. Let's talk about, before you got into the program, where were you? What were the challenges, struggles? What were the things that were going on before we started to work together. And of course, we worked together many years ago at first, right?
Right.
And then you joined in certified manifestation coach. So give us a story, a little bit of the background on where you guys came from and where were you at?
Yeah, that's an interesting because I actually discovered you. I think I shared this with you, but I discovered you on Facebook back in 2019. And I knew right away that there was something different and something that was intriguing to me because my passion has always been personal growth.
Yeah.
And in the, right thereafter that, we enrolled and became certified through Proctor Gallagher. And it just kept going from there. And, it became an affiliate through the Manifestation Accelerator program and had found some success, pretty good success. And it was just, I don't like, sometimes it's a cliche, but it really was a no-brainer because when we found out about, becoming a certified manifestation coach, I looked at Antoinette and I was like, we got to do this because this is our calling. This, as you said, this is something that we've been called to do. So anyways, but what else would you like to share on that?
So, a little bit about John and I, as far as, where we came from. John has always had a passion for personal growth and development. That started way back in the 90s when he first got started with network marketing through a company that had, a system in place for personal growth through books, tapes, and seminars, right? So that's where he really got awakened to that. I myself always have had just something in me that wanted to learn, to understand myself, to understand people. I've always been the lady that the friend, the sister, the mom that people come to and say, what do you think about this? And always coming to me for advice or just, my thoughts on things. And so I've always had that as well. And it wasn't until I stepped out and made a change in my life. I did something outside my comfort zone and I did something different that I'd never done before. And that was, I hired a coach and a mentor, and somebody that could speak into my life, somebody that could guide me, could lead me, that was there to not judge or criticize, but to open me up, to awaken me to things. Well, coincidentally, that happened to be the guy sitting right here. And so we met through personal development.
Yep.
And then a few years later down the road, we ended up together. And but that's what's beautiful about this whole thing is we have a passion together to do this. So I was working corporate America. John has been, in the coaching for over 20 years now, but
Yep.
I was still in corporate America. And it was a couple of years ago, through all the growth, all the investments that we've made in ourselves to learn and to grow, that I was finally able to leave corporate America. And we do this full time together.
Yep.
And so we love it. And, one thing that I think is really important is John's calling is to awaken people, to the power that they have within, to who they are. And that lines up because he did that for me. He helped wake me up. And I've just been on this journey ever since. And what we also love about it is in the process, we continue to grow. We continue to learn. We continue to become better versions of ourselves along the way. So it's a great fit. And I love that I'm with somebody that we have the same passion, the same desires, the same goals, and the same vision for our future. And that way too, what's awesome about it is people can tap into, you got the male version of, perspective on things, but you also get the perspective from on the women's side, and then together as a couple.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I would have said. It's just been a perfect match.
Yeah. An amazing journey that you both have been on. It's one of enlightenment, finding the purpose and unleashing that purpose and then taking action on it and building a business off of that, which is amazing. Some people listening into this will think, well, John's had 20 years experience and Antoinette, you've had your experience in things. And a lot of people have the doubt that says, I can't coach people until I've earned $1 million. I can't coach people until I've had I have a private jet. I have these luxury things, right? And it's a false belief that that being a coach is that kind of idea. So can you speak on that a little bit? When you guys started, at a spa where maybe you didn't have experience, maybe you didn't have $1 million, any of that stuff. So what do you think about that, and how'd you get started with no experience?
For me, I I had gotten out of the Air Force. This is a long time ago. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew what I didn't want to do. And I started asking around, and I ran into a gentleman that said, and back in the 90s, if somebody said, would you like to be a coach? I thought he was talking about basketball, football, baseball, that kind of stuff.
Sports.
Yeah. And he said, no, coaching people to become better. And I said, there is such a thing? And so I had zero experience, but what I had was passion. And I had desire, and I had the willingness to go through the process, because I really believe there is a process, and that anybody that has the willingness to go through it, and the passion to make it become reality, anybody can do it. You don't have to have, because believe me, I was the farthest thing from successful in this industry. But what I was able to do is to find people. Some of the best advice I ever received was find some people that are doing what you want to do, and write down those characteristics, and then say, am I that person now? And for me, it was absolutely not. Yeah. So what I had to do is I had to say, okay, what must I do in order to become that person? Because I always have believed, maybe not always, but when I started working with Zig Ziglar, which was like 20 years ago, it was the be, you got to be before you can do, you got to do before you can have. And so that's really what lit my fire. But I didn't have a massive income at that time. And I certainly didn't have the experience, but again, I had a passion and a big desire.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And it comes down to the idea that we talk about all the time. There's a difference between a coach, a consultant, and a mentor, right? Yes, maybe the mentor has done those things. Maybe the consultant has a particular skill set. You go into a company, into a business, and fix things. But a coach draws out the potential, right? Because a lot of people need encouragement, support, and help. And you can start there, like you're mentioning, John. So very well said. Let's talk about your big wins here in certification. When you did a launch, and I want to say it was like between just under your second month in certification here, but definitely correct any dates there if you have them, that you did a launch event and had a big 7 days of a lot of calls scheduled, a lot of bookings, a lot of enrollments, and a lot of good things happened. So let's talk about this big win that you guys had.
Yeah, we did that. Matter of fact, I know the date because of how it was great. It stood out in my mind. But again, I want to give you credit because you taught us the right way. But it was May 31st of this year, and we had a launch, and we had about 33 or 34 people on the webinar, and we had, I think, what was like 15 people that said they wanted more info, and so we did a one-on-one with those folks, and out of those 15, 13 of those 15 people signed up. Wow! So that was like more than we could have ever imagined, at least initially.
Our initial goal was 7. We were going for 7. I said maybe 5. This is where you work on your belief level too in the process. But we said 7, and before we knew it, we were at 7.
Yeah,
and then
it just kept going. Yeah. And so it really has been. And again, I want to emphasize, because I agree with what you said. A lot of people say, oh, they can do it because they've got this and that. No, it was really, now that I'm not saying that didn't help, but it's the passion, and it's the willingness to,
stick with,
grow and become. You got to become the person. I mean, the content, it has to become a part of who you are. And I think that what we were able to do is, exempt, or what's the word I'm looking for, to display it. In other words, people they knew what we had our hands on, and they felt that, hey, if I can get connected and do that kind of stuff, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we had a great response, and it went extremely well. Yes.
Absolutely. And from there, we've continued, we group coach with them each and every week. Yeah, we do
group coaching every week. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Through the program, we're guiding. We've got them in their own Facebook group. They post their wins. They share things and questions. And so it's been really great to see people grow and learn through this. But it really comes down to a lot of people have a tough time stepping outside of the norm of what they do on a day-to-day. And for whatever reason, and a lot of it is because of belief in self.
I was just going to say that
not having
we found that to be the biggest challenge for most people is believing in their worthiness and the deserving factor. And so we work with people a lot on that right there.
Yeah. Amazing. That win right there. I mean, a lot of people have never done anything like that. It sounds really big. So anybody listening into this may say 13 enrollments in a week, like, yeah, they can do it, right? That's amazing. But let's share a little bit. I mean, you came into certification for a reason, right? And then what we talked about one-on-one is how to do the launch. What should you incorporate? What steps? What things? Remember, we also did roles. Antoinette, you did some creative work. John, you did some other work, right? So we kind of intermingled those things. So maybe share a little bit more about the simple process that got you there. What was the setup like of us working together, the program, the launch? Was it easy? Was it put into simple terms? Let's talk a little bit about what was involved to get you there as well.
So with getting started with it, this is the first time I had done something like this. All right. So I came into really coaching, teaching, and training much later in the game than John. But that didn't mean I didn't have some things under my belt that I'd already done, prior, where I was teaching and training and working with people in different ways and capacities, whether it was in a corporate setting, whether it was through network marketing and so forth. And so this has just really helped me hone that. And coming into it, you have such an amazing system that's laid out.
The best we've seen.
To guide us through the process in conjunction with being able to communicate with you just really step by step. Okay, how do we start this? What do we do? And everything from inviting people to getting the message out to having your presentation ready to all the details of you got the Zoom link, just everything, right? And so it was a lot happening. But here's the thing that was really great is even though there was a lot going on and there was a lot of parts and pieces coming together, I felt alive. I felt like I was doing something where I was moving forward in my life and that I was putting something together to present to people that's going to make a difference in their life. So yes, it was about me to a degree, right? Because I had to grow and learn in the process and do some things that I hadn't done before that weren't familiar. But I learned how to create some banners on Canva, and I learned how to, really dive deeper into PowerPoint and editing and creating different PowerPoints. And I've never been taught these things. So I was doing all this just on my own self.
Yeah, in other words, we were novices at most of this stuff, but we had, again, I go back to just repeat again, it was all about the passion and the desire. And but yeah, we've seen tremendous and I won't downplay anybody here, but we've been on other programs and never seen the type of training, the type of setup that you offer with the Manifestation Accelerator. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you saying that. I think when it comes down to this, it's like sometimes people need the roadmap and we need like step by step. What do I do? Because a lot of us are so willing to do it. It's like I have the drive, the desire is there, but I just don't know what the steps are to take to get there, right? So when we have the roadmap and it can say, here's what to do, and I can just go A, B, C, D, it allows us to have a little more faith in the process. And if I have no experience, I have a lot of experience anywhere in between. Mm-hmm. That still can work because I know what to do, right? Mm-hmm. And that's super important.
That right there is a huge key in so many things really in life. But when it comes to personal development, especially for people that are out there that, are looking and seeking, maybe you're listening to things on YouTube, you're reading books, you're picking up bits and pieces here and there, you're doing audiobooks or reading them yourself, whatever it is. And there's all this great information. But one thing that's really missing out there is really that mind-body connection, understanding how we really operate and how we work, the creative faculties. All the stuff that I had read before, everything was always personal development, whether it was on a spiritual level or not so much so, but just being guided through a process, but I've never really had like the step-by-step, like what you lay out. So even in the Manifestation Accelerator, what's so amazing is you put so many great details and so much stuff in there that that guide you right through the process. Like, here's an activity, here's an exercise.
And that's
this
the
is
key,
how you're
is
going to do it.
application, is applying it. For many years, I had books upon books upon books,
So you gather the
seminars,
knowledge.
and I'm going to age myself here, listening to tapes, and I was like, why isn't it happening? And it was
What am I
because,
missing?
right, it was because I wasn't applying it, and I wasn't being able to get past my limiting beliefs. And this program right here, no doubt, hands down, if you apply it and you do the other things that you shared within the program, you'll have success. There's no doubt whatsoever.
The guided steps. Absolutely. And I believe that that's where people really gain, those that take them and use them really gain the outcome and the results that they're looking for, because you not only talk about how things work and go into all the details of things, but you say, okay, here's how we're going to apply it now. And you do that. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's the missing link. That's the piece right there. Yeah. Now I have something to tie all this information to, and it's not just head knowledge, gathered information. That's because that's no different than going to school, right? As long as you can gather the info and pass the test.
The faculty, the creative faculty that is taught in schools, from what I've seen, is memory, but everything else, there's nothing that's taught, and there's nothing that, and through the Manifestation Accelerator that we're honored and privileged to be able to use, is because it gets into all the depth and how manifestation actually, I won't get into the depth of this part, but what really struck me, and has struck some of our clients, is the end scenes. Because prior to working with you, I didn't know what the heck an end scene was. And so it really has really made a huge difference for us and our clients.
A huge application is at number one, right? And then you get your money consciousness there as well. Are you guys open to sharing during that 7-day launch as well, how much cash collected revenue came in? Is that something you're open to sharing during those 7 days?
Sure.
Right around $50,000.
It was $50,000.
Yeah, amazing, right? So this win of 50,000, having those clients come in and being able to start systemizing business is huge. Having the implementation, the accelerate, and everything has been huge. So how about in terms of being able to have the licensing rights to use the Manifestation Accelerator? How have you been able to leverage having a proven curriculum? So you're becoming certified, you have the business training, we did the launch, and you can now leverage the curriculum rather than building out yourself and taking 3 years to do it. How has that helped leverage the licensing rights as well?
One word. I mean, it was tremendous, because like you just said, for the entrepreneurs out there that are watching, it's okay especially if you're the new generation, but like for us who've been around a while, I wouldn't have had a clue. But when it was all plug and play, and you just have to become, you said something actually before we got involved in it, is you have to become the material. And when we started doing that, it just was effortless, but to get back to your original question, it's been tremendous. I mean, there's nothing like it. You're literally buying a franchise, in many ways. You're a franchisee, so to speak, because like what you said in the initial was that you now have the rights to tell people, hey, this is your program. Just like, a franchise, and then you have the franchisee. Well, that's how we look at it, and we've taken ownership of it.
Yeah, amazing. It gives you that time and leverage to be able to go out there right from day one and just start moving, right?
Yes.
One other win I really want to emphasize here is the personal wins, especially Antoinette, your healing. And because what we do here is not just build the business and get the good income and clientele and calling. Like you both said, it's about developing yourselves. And that's one of the gifts that comes with being able to be in business, helping other people. You help yourself triple the time, right? So a lot of the healing we take place here is clearing out these limitations, doing healing processes of these stuck energies in the body, being able to release these things that have plagued us for a long time, since childhood or teenage years. And Antoinette, you don't need to disclose any personal info that you don't want to, but how has your healing journey been? I know you had some major breakthroughs in the last couple of months and even in the last 2 weeks as well. So
Absolutely.
how has that been for you doing your healing journey with us?
Oh, it's been amazing. I'm so thankful that I never stopped seeking for the answers. I've always known that I've had where my stuck points have come from. I consciously, I'm aware of that. However, it was in that process that I've been like just not able to connect the dots, right, on how to really get past. And one thing that you teach that absolutely has been key is how to reframe your story, right?
Yeah.
What's happened to you is true for you. And you've gone through things. Everybody's gone through things that have been tough or hard or, hurtful, whatever it is, but to reframe it. And that was my biggest challenge. It was like, I don't know how to reframe my story. And it was through a situation that had absolutely, your day-to-day life, right? You start asking yourself, why do I respond the way I do to certain people or situations or circumstances? Why does it evoke a certain emotion or feeling in me? And usually if it's something you're challenged with, it's negative. It's not so positive. And I got to a place, and I've been there for a little while, but I just was waiting for that final breakthrough where I said, I don't like feeling this way. I don't like operating this way. This is not who I am. And I know what's holding me back. I just was like, how do I get through it? And there was a situation that happened, and I went from kind of shutting down, and this all happened in just a few minutes. I shut down, and I was like, why do I feel this way over something that was said? And it was just a conversation John and I were having, and he mentioned something, and I took it wrong. And I was asking myself, why did I take it that way? Why do I feel this way? And then I shut down, and then I got angry. And I said, no more, I can't do this anymore. Something's got to give. And then in that moment, it was like a movie that did a super fast rewind to the very moment of the event that shaped the feelings and everything that I've been going through for the last several decades. And all of a sudden, I was able to reframe the story. And what it really came down to is I had bought into somebody else's paradigm. Well, your paradigm, your habits, your beliefs, and your behaviors that came from somebody else. So their response to me in that situation that was a major deal shaped me and formed me in how I carried on in a marriage, as a parent, as an entrepreneur, as a coworker, somebody out in corporate America, all these things. And it also, affected my self-worth, my self-esteem. I always felt like I had to prove things to people or become something that I wasn't, and not just be my true authentic self. So since this has happened, where all of a sudden it's like, I get it. That was the clicking moment. I told myself, I no longer have to own that. I can change that. I can let that go. And now this is my story. And I'm okay with that.
And I've witnessed the transformation. We've been married almost 6 years. And I've seen just a change in the last month that's been absolute. And it is because of the principles that are taught in the Manifestation Accelerator. So
absolutely, that's a big key.
Yeah.
Huge. So the healing journey isn't just for those that are, maybe down and out or something. The healing journey is for all, because we have so much stuff from childhood to teenage years to experiences like you mentioned in corporate or any of these experiences that we hold so much in. And that's the very reason we feel there's a glass ceiling above us sometimes, or that invisible wall we keep running. It's almost like a loop we're experiencing of similar patterning. And give you huge credit to the both of you for the healing journey you continue to do, because it's not easy work, right? You have pain you're going through and hurt, and you're saying, what's going on here? And it's a discovery process, almost like a detective, for trying to find the pieces and see how all these patterns click. So it's just amazing. Two last things for you. And I'd like to go ahead and wrap up here. Number one, would you recommend anybody for the Certified Manifestation Coach Program becoming certified, running a business? Who would you recommend this to? Who do you think resonates most with becoming somebody who's certified and coaching others?
We were just asked that the other day. I don't know if you feel something on this, but I feel it would be somebody that is in an industry where maybe they feel like the growth is being like they're stuck, or somebody that's already in a personal growth into the books and the CDs and all that, but they just feel like they have a ceiling placed on them, or someone that, in other words, a go-getter, somebody that says, you know what, this is okay, but I can do better than this. Those type of people would run with this, and with the mentorship and that you provide and the coaching that you provide through the program, that would be an ideal candidate for somebody like that.
Yeah, and somebody that wants to pour into others,
Yeah,
help others
helping
grow.
other people. Yeah.
You have to be focused on the people. Sure, do we do these things for ourselves as well? Absolutely, because that's part of.
Well, I love teaching it, because when you teach it, you learn more.
Absolutely. However, you've got to want to, assist and guide people in their journey and really care. You have to care.
Yeah.
It can't just be about you all the time. It's got to be about the people as well. So, and somebody that is, entrepreneurial, business minded as well.
Now, they don't have to be entrepreneur necessarily, because I've seen where this program could work for somebody that maybe has a job, but has that desire to become the best version of them. So I would give it an absolute big thumbs up as far as something that, for those out there that would like to do what we do, it's there and it's very worth it.
Yeah. What's fun about that is he didn't say people that have tons of experience, people that, already know about business, who've been, entrepreneurs for so long that they know everything in business marketing. You said the people who have the passion, right, to help themselves, to help others, who have the drive to get uncapped potential. That's the prerequisite, right?
Yes.
And that's fascinating that you're mentioning that for sure. So my final question is, anybody listening to this interview that wants to get in touch with you guys, that wants to get some coaching from you both because they resonate with your story, right? They want to be able to see how you coach people through the Manifestation Accelerator. How could they get a hold of you if they want to schedule a call with you, or they want to be able to talk? How would they get a hold of you, and where are you guys at online?
All right. Well, online, we both have our own Facebook pages personally, John Ramsey, Antoinette Ramsey. Then we have a Facebook group together that's called Next Level Results.
With John
and Antoinette Ramsey. Absolutely. Website that's nextlevelmindset.info. You can go there to find out more and get more information on the Manifestation Accelerator.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just we give out our number as we connect with people, through Facebook and through the website.
Yeah, absolutely. So my top coaches here, John and Antoinette. So if you're listening into this interview and you want some coaching, go seek their website there. Go seek to talk with them. Book a call with them. If you're looking to get the business side of things, start with the certification. The links below to book a call with us to get the business side of things going as well. John and Antoinette, thank you so much for this time. Your time is immensely valuable. Your time here and sharing your story is going to help the world in a bigger and better way. I hope that you keep pursuing everything that you're doing, and I know with certainty you will, but pouring out all of you and more potential over the next 12 months, you're going to be some of the top people in the world in what you're doing. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts and story.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Appreciate it.